Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and you know what? Anytime I fly out, there's a tradition of really messed up stuff happening. Bombshells be dropping. So today I got two bombshells for you. Number one, Insomniac Games just got hacked. A terabyte of information released, and footage that I clearly can't show you because there would be lawyers willing to snipe my head from that window. The other big bombshell I have to drop is your boy's got his own candy. If you're a fan of the old Sour Boys, Caleb, my good friend, buddy, brother, hooked me up with a flavor, some ordinary berry, that you can buy right now. It is grape, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what? It might be the best flavor they ever made. No biases right there. I take one of these juicy, delicious, sugary, sour strips. Oh, crack them right in my mouth. Oh, God. Oh, I forgot these were sour. I really love how Sour Boys has some educational material. Grapes currently have 29,000 square miles of Mother Earth devoted to their cultivation. And they found the best berries quite literally for me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to try some good old candy, yes, it's candy. I'm not trying to sell you a health food here. It's got sugar, spice, and everything nice. Head over to sour.gg and check out Some Ordinary Berry. Give it a try, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get on with the video. Oh, God. Alright, so as my mouth is currently healing from the amazing flavor that has been delivered, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, Insomniac Games is a pretty massive game developer. They've been known for big game releases, especially last year even, like Spider-Man 2. I say last year, but I mean, this year hasn't even ended. Spider-Man 2. So you get that they're pretty big. They're a big-time developer. They've been around Sony for quite a long time. They made Ratchet and Clank. In fact, they've even started working on a game that we will be discussing known as Wolverine, okay? So to understand, this is a game that they actually ended up showing about 2 years ago, okay? So this isn't even gameplay. This is just something they showed in 2021. And obviously, it's a more mature version of any of the superhero games that they made. Do you like Wolverine? I like Wolverine, okay? Apparently, hackers like Wolverine so much that they leaked about 1 terabyte of information, some of that information including what appeared to be playable builds of this situation. So before we get into it, let's talk about how this hack actually occurred. So the real actual culprits behind this hack appear to be a group known as Raishida. So again, looking at their actual dark web post, Raishida literally said that one of their targets was Insomniac Games Incorporated, is an American video game developer based in Burbank, California, which has 7 days on the clock, seized the opportunity to bid on exclusive, unique, and impressive data. Open your wallets and be ready to buy exclusive data. We sell only to one hand, no reselling, you will be the owner. So this isn't even actually based upon, like, you know, these people trying to be good or good-natured or at least like holding off on this data exclusively for the developer. They're scumbags who have already put this data up to sell for anybody out there. And the price was 50 BTC, which according to money right now, as of the current exchange rate, is just slightly over 2 million US dollars. So to understand, information that is from one of the biggest developers in the scene, from one of the biggest console manufacturers in the scene, is a small price to pay. Now, obviously, with situations like this, I kind of am a little bit doubtful. Obviously, if there's no sample to work off with, you're literally trusting in blind faith to an organization to sell you information that may or may not be valid enough. Now, to understand, these people have the credentials. For about a month ago, November 27th, it came out that the British Library even got hacked by a strain of the Raishida ransomware. Okay, so the Raishida ransomware group said on Monday last week that it was behind the attack and shared an image on its leak site to the dark web showing various documents, some of which appear to be HMRC employment contracts and passports. The BBC has not verified whether the data is real, but at the end of the day, these people have the credentials in the scene. If they actually do appear to hack Insomniac, it's probably true. And in this situation, 7 days have passed. And after the 7 days, unfortunately, like the movie The Ring, bad shit happens. And bad shit being, personal information gets leaked, and actual playable builds, apparently, of that Wolverine game I showed you earlier have been leaked. So yeah, while the gaming industry is a little bit pissed about it, Raishida, who actually apparently hacked them, There's a great write-up by an organization known as ShadowStackRE.com who actually provided some good analysis into the situation, who looked into, again, reverse engineering their ransomware and just seeing how it flowed, how it interacted with systems, and so on and so forth. So if you want to read it up, go check it out. I'll probably leave a link in the description below, but I'll try to do just a pinned comment. I think that's better anyways. It's more visible. Anyways, not the point of this situation. What happened after this was, of course, reading into how this attack had occurred. So the best way to say is Rashida ransomware actually initially accessed, according to this joint cybersecurity advisory posted by the FBI, CISA, MS ISAC, they effectively said that Rashida actors have been observed leveraging external-facing remote services to initially access and persist within a network. Remote services such as VPNs allow users to connect to internal enterprise network resources from external locations. Rashida actors have commonly been observed authenticating to internal VPN access points with compromised valid credentials, notably due to organizations lacking MFA by default. So to understand how big corporations work, and even our company over here, we have VPNs, right? So for instance, our own personal VPN allows people from outside the office area to access the internal network. And the reason we do that is to obviously block off the flow of data, sensitive data from the company, to the outside world. So if somebody wants to work remotely or access the system remotely, they basically fire up a VPN, connect with their credentials, and then they're in the system and they can access the internal network as if they were sitting in the office. Obviously, the problem with this situation is while you have a lot of convenience, if somebody grabs that credential and there's not extra security other than the username and password appearing in this situation, then obviously a hacker can get access to the internal network and start doing some really dangerous things. Now, even if they got access to the system, they have to be able to laterally move around a network and start gaining permissions. So the way that they did this was something known as living off the land. Now, living off the land techniques are actually super interesting, and I've covered them before on my channel when we did virus investigations on actual fileless malware. So a living off of the land attack literally basically means that you are using native tools on the actual system to perform actual intrusive operations. So according to this report, what the actual programs were things like ipconfig, whoami, NLTest, net commands. They were basically using built-in software such as cmd.exe, PowerShell.exe, psexec.exe, mstsc.exe, PuTTY, port starter, secrets dump, ntdsutil.exe. Some of these tools, obviously not as part, but they were leveraged in. Some of these tools, like PowerShell, for instance, are built right into Windows, okay? So they are using actual tools that come with the system to launch their attacks. So again, this isn't like somebody fired up a piece of malware in a script and started moving around the network. The way that they initially intruded and they started to actually spread themselves was using tools that were built into the system, harmless tools at first, but can be used for incredibly nefarious purposes. That's not to say they obviously didn't have their own pieces of malware. Once they got access to certain permissions, they could launch the Rashida ransomware, which again, apparently what had occurred over here in one investigation was Rashida actors created two folders in the C drive called in and out, which served as a staging directory where they hosted actual malicious executable files. So the in folder contained file names in accordance with host names on the victim's network, likely imported through a scanning tool that would check for, the files that they wanted. The out folder contained various files listed in table 2. Rashida actors deployed these tools and scripts to assist system and network-wide encryption. So obviously, ransomware means that you encrypt everything on a system. And these guys basically encrypt your system, they have a decryption key, and because your system is encrypted, you basically are either paying up money to these organizations to fix up your network and continue your normal operations, or you pray to God, you have a really recent backup, and then you just start scrubbing the network, you restore your images, and you move on from there. Obviously, with a company as large as Insomniac, the bigger your company gets, the harder this is in theory to do. But that said, even if you've been ransomwared, that information can be exfiltrated as it has been to these scumbags, and they can then decrypt that information and sell it on the dark web, which is unfortunately what happened in this situation. Now, as soon as you get hacked, what's interesting is they write down an actual ransom note to you. So Rashida said, critical breach detected. Dear company, this is an automated alert from cybersecurity team Rashida. An unfortunate situation has arisen. Your digital ecosystem has been compromised, and a substantial amount of confidential data has been exfiltrated from your network. The potential ramifications of this could be dire, including the sale, publication, or distribution of your data to competitors or media outlets. This could inflict significant reputational and financial damage. However, this situation is not without a remedy. Our team has developed a unique key, specially designed to restore your digital security. This key represents the first and most crucial step in recovering from this situation. To utilize this key, visit our secure portal. So obviously, they give you an entire guide to utilize their key. You pay up, you get out of this scot-free, and that's generally how the situation works. Now, to understand, you should never pay a criminal organization like this any fucking money. And that's exactly what Sony didn't do. They didn't pony up the $2 million. Not because Sony didn't have $2 million, obviously they did. But paying up any of these organizations is a very, very big no-no. Because obviously any company will tell you, any group in the world will tell you, any law enforcement agency will tell you, if you give money over to these scumbags, even in the case of MGM where they were losing a shit ton of money every day and they were kind of forced to do so, you basically strengthen these ransomware attackers. Ransomware, I don't want to say is easy to do, it's absolutely not, but it is very rewarding financially for a criminal group to do. If you can ransom somebody, especially a big company or, God forbid, a hospital, chances are, after a few days pass, there may be a very good chance, depending on how critical their service is or how much money they're losing because of you, that they will pony up a ransom, and that will just strengthen criminals across the board. So obviously at this point, the FBI, tons of agencies are involved, and because of the scale and size of this attack and how much notoriety it's raised, there could be a good chance that the people behind this are being hunted down, and some of them may even be brought to light and be serving several years in prison, okay? This is one of those situations where you get arrested and they give you like a fucking job Hollywood style. Tons of ransomware crackers exist. The government and various cybersecurity teams have no real love and care for any of these scumbags, and they will have you rot in the goddamn ground if they want. Now, what kind of information did end up getting leaked? Obviously, we've got tons of personal information. Apparently, it seems like even passport information for some of the employees have been leaked. So again, really personally identifiable information that could put anybody at risk, serious risk of being harassed, of being violently attacked, so on and so forth. There are people, once your information's out there, God knows what any scumbag is going to do with it. The other thing that also got leaked in this situation that's a little less insane than the personal identifiable information is obviously copies of that Wolverine game. Now, there's been leaked footage of the game floating around, and it's much like the GTA 6 leaked footage that I talked about. Obviously, the game isn't complete. Visually, it lacks a lot of the flair that you would expect a final game to have, obviously. And the game itself looks like it's definitely built on the bones of Spider-Man, which isn't a shocker, okay? Insomniac, definitely to save development costs, builds on top of the games they already have. That's just standard industry practice. For anybody to say that Wolverine looks like dog shit because they saw a pre-alpha version of the game is just downright deplorable. Dog, the game isn't even hitting the beta. It's not even close to completion. It looks interesting, but obviously it's not even close to being done, and it shouldn't be used as a parameter for assessing what the final game is like. I think the really shitty thing is, obviously, they wanted to reveal this game in its own special trailer, its own gameplay trailer, to really build hype the way they wanted to. Unfortunately, it's been taken out of context, thrown away, and the first impression is never going to hit as hard, right? Like, obviously, if you looked at the GTA 5 alpha footage and you compared it to the final trailer, like the first trailer that they showcased, night and day difference in visuals, okay? Obviously, one is a more final, complete, true-to-life realization of what the developers want. One is just what the developers were working on in the background years before they were ready to even think of showing it. The one thing I was interested in was wondering if there was like a PS5 Pro somewhere in the leaks mentioned during development. Doesn't appear to be that way. Now, there are some files leaked, so if you happen to have a hacked PlayStation 5, and I think like you need to have a developer version, a developer kit, a dev kit, a PS5 dev kit, which incredibly difficult to get, you might be able to run versions of Wolverine on it, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to teach you obviously how to do that, nor am I going to show you how to obtain it, just because that's not anywhere close to relevant in the story, and I also don't want to fucking, promote this kind of shitty material to people anyways. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Insomniac Games got totally hacked, and I kind of wanted to sit down and discuss how they got hacked, who hacked them, and what is the actual cure to any of this. The reality is, ever since, I would say the pandemic, when people have switched to remote working or working off the grid, there are going to be situations, in my opinion at least, where these companies have to up their security, up their cybersecurity, and up the practices of the people engaging in the company. Remember, it doesn't matter how great of security software you have sitting around. If the people aren't trained enough to use it properly or to take basic security into account, you have situations like the Insomniac hack. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much what we're sitting at. Probably one of the worst hacks I've seen in the gaming industry since Rockstar Games, when they had all of their GTA 6, like an hour plus worth of footage released. This is actually far worse, because at least in this situation, it seems like a lot of employees' personal identifiable information has also been leaked as well, which is never obviously good. That said, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike or dislike, and let me know if you learned something in the comment section below. This is me, Mutahar, and yeah, I am out.